This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by Intercontinental San Francisco Hotel. They are proud sponsors of our show, and they hosted our live podcast in the Bay Area during preseason. We had a great time. Thank you to the Intercontinental for hosting the show. You guys should all stay there if you're going to San Fran. Stone's throw away from everything, including the stadium, the pier, and you're going to have a great time. Today's episode is a two-parter. Part one, El Día Después, Lucas Navarrete and I discuss more things from the Almeria game, which Matt and I did not talk about last night on the post-game podcast. Just some lingering stuff. And we talked about Tchouameni situation, Asensio situation. I mean, Tchouameni doesn't have a situation. What I mean by that is just kind of reflecting on his performance and stuff. The Asensio situation, which is becoming a little bit more clear, but also we're kind of just trying to figure out what happens with him before August 31st, and some other things. And then part two is Castilla Corner. Kris and Ruben talk all things Castilla, and those guys are very popular, and they're back by popular demand as of last week. So this is their second episode of the season, and that's part two. So stick around for that. We also have Las Blancas going up for free later today. So that's going to go up on a separate podcast. That's not going to go on this one. It's going to be a standalone podcast. And then obviously tomorrow we have Tuesday Tapas over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. I think we're going to throw something up Wednesday too. I'm not sure yet. And then Thursday is the mailbag over on Patreon. And I think we're going to do something Friday with Jose as well. So I'm getting overwhelmed just saying that. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed. There's a massive amount of content. I would just say take it one bite at a time. Have fun with it. Feel free to bounce around into whatever segment you want to bounce around to, whatever is interesting to you at the time. And take your time with it. And throw it on when you're cooking. Throw it on during commutes, at the gym, on your walks. Get your 10,000 steps in per day. It's another great way. Just kill two birds with one stone. Exercise and listen to our content. I'm just trying to give you guys ideas to catch up on the content. But again, don't feel overwhelmed with it. Just take it one bite at a time. And feel free to listen to the time-sensitive stuff first. So without further ado, let's get started with the voices of Ray Hudson and Derek Ray and then jump into a two-part podcast. Thank you for being part of this journey, and let's go.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First great podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
All right, welcome to part one of today's Managing Madrid podcast. It is Monday, August 15th, and I'm joined by Lucas Navarrete. And this is kind of a new Monday thing. We did this last week. We experimented with it, and I think it works because Monday there's always lingering stuff to talk about that maybe we missed on Sunday's podcast, and I think it works. It's kind of like an El Día Después thing. So I'm kind of maybe we need to come up with another name for it because we can't copy El Día Después. El Día Después is a great name, by the way. But El Día Después, Real Madrid win on last night's opening match day one, and we're gonna break down. Not the game, but just maybe lingering talking points that Lucas and I feel are appropriate to talk about on Monday. So first of all, Lucas, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Kiyan, I'm doing fine. I'm better than I would be in Valencia. I'm away from Valencia. I got away from the city, and it was the worst weekend in terms of temperatures that it's been recorded. I think it was it reached like 45 degrees. The minimum temperature for a day on Saturday was I think 29 or 30. So I'm happy to be away from that kind of heat.
Yeah, but it's not like you made a trip to Norway or Canada. You went to Almeria, which is on like.
Oh no! I'm in Madrid. I didn't go to Almeria. Luckily too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I don't know why I said. I confused you with Ewan for a second. It was Ewan who went to Almeria for us, not you. You went to.
Yeah.
You went to Madrid. But Madrid is also hot.
Yeah, but it's not in the same kind of league or conversation. Believe me, at least not for this past weekend. Madrid was very hot on Friday when we got here too, but last night and also on Saturday was way better than Valencia. The feel is just way better Valencia. You can open your windows and get some air. Actually, it doesn't work that way in Valencia in August.
And not be hit with basically just humidity,
fire,
and
sweat
and fire. Yeah. All right, El Dia Después is going to start with corner about temperature first. That's the opening segment every Monday. Which one of your takes came true? I think you tweeted about it for the game in terms of starting lineups or rotations.
Starting lineup. I was looking forward to seeing Tchouameni, Camavinga, Kroos, and Valverde starting in the midfield. Well, Valverde obviously on the right wing spot, but and it came true. Not to the greatest of outcomes in terms of the performances, but yeah, that's what I was looking for. Also, kind of got a bit of a hint that this could be what Ancelotti would go for during this first season La Liga game, and it came true. So lucky that we got to see that midfield, even though again it was not the brightest performances.
It's interesting. So there's a lot of interesting talking points. Like Matt and I hit on a lot of them last night on the podcast, but I know you were pretty critical of Tchouameni. I don't know if what you said about Rudiger, but you were critical of Tchouameni. So
yeah,
I thought it was a little bit harsh. It's not that you were wrong, but his performance, I thought he was poor. I think there were a couple moments where that you could kind of see how good he is, like the couple passes he made in particular. But I guess I think the reason I think it was harsh is because it's his first freaking game. So I don't. But so. And I wonder, like, here's what I would ask you, Lucas. I like the idea of Ancelotti rotating right away, but there's also a counter argument in that maybe do you wait for rotations a little bit later? Like, do you ease into like the new signings? Is there a case that there was too much lack of unfamiliarity with the new players to start them right away, despite their talent, and probably they'll be future starters regardless. But I think there's a question to be asked there. But maybe just discuss your Tchouameni take. And I shouldn't put words in your mouth. It's not like you came out and said that Tchouameni is going to be a bad Real Madrid player. That's not what you said. So maybe I'm being harsh on saying you were being harsh. But just talk us through it.
No, it's fine. I just was, I'll be honest, I was a bit disappointed with his performances. It was just an away game in Almeria, and I thought that Real Madrid overall should have found a way to get the job done without having to play Modric at all in the second half. They didn't. Both Camavinga and Tchouameni were a bit disappointing in my opinion. Camavinga, obviously we know what he has in him. I'm a big fan of his game, and I just believe this was just a single game. And Tchouameni, on the other hand, I don't know. I saw him a bit too shy, a bit too unwilling to take the chance, to take chances, and to take and embrace the risks that maybe he should embrace in such a game, especially when Real Madrid are already down in the scoreboard. It's not that obviously. I don't think that he cannot be trusted to play for Real Madrid ever again or anything like that. I realized that he will probably be fine, but at the same time, I realized that he's still very young. But on the other hand, Real Madrid paid 80 million euros to sign him away from Monaco, and you only pay those fees. On paper, at least, and theoretically speaking, you only pay those fees for those players who are going to be ready to contribute fairly easy in your season. Obviously, you need some time to adapt to a different playing style, different formation, different tactics. But on the other hand, I don't know if Tchouameni will be that able to compete for a starting spot with Casemiro this season. And this is something that most fans and analysts alike expected. I think it's reasonable to say that we all thought that Tchouameni could actually compete with the starting spots with Casemiro right away this season, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that based on his mindset last night. It's not his technical ability or his position is not something that I was disappointed. It's just his mindset. He was just too safe with the ball and all that, and I need to see more from from him, and especially when we all know and probably we all thought that he was going to be an upgrade over Casemiro, especially on that distribution, on distributing the ball and all that. So obviously we still have to be patient, but to clarify my tweet and all that, I just was a bit disappointed with his performances.
I think to your regards to your question or concern about will he be able to compete with with Casemiro for a starting role, I think the answer is still yes, despite what happened last night.
It's just 60 minutes for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple points I also wanted to bring up in that I think the context of the surroundings of the team around him last night was that there was a completely new center back pairing as well behind him. I think there was a little bit of confusion between those three. I think he was a little bit trying to figure out where he's supposed to be positioned. There was a clear gap, I think, between him and the defensive line. And I think, so the point about mentality and stuff, it's interesting because a lot of people said the same thing as you did. And I came away thinking that maybe he was a little bit too shy last night. Although he did have a couple really good balls over the top that were important. One of them was that led to like that Benzema chance in the box, which he would have normally buried. But Ewan's perspective at the stadium was completely different. I don't know if you read his post-game piece from the stadium, the 3 answers, 3 questions, but he said that what he noticed was that his body language was incredibly confident throughout the game, and he was talking to players and he was trying to organize the team. And so I didn't necessarily see that on TV, but that was his vantage point, and I suppose that just to have that perspective and that maybe there was some things that off the camera that he saw that were encouraging to him, I think he'll be fine. We'll see.
I hope he will too, and I just, again, it's just 60 minutes, and this comparison will sound harsh. It is harsh after just 60 minutes, and it will only make sense 6 months, 1 year, 2 years from now. But just to get a better perspective for you and the listeners to get a better perspective of what I'm saying is that he reminded me a little bit of the same symptoms that Illarramendi displayed during his first few games in Real Madrid.
Nah,
it's hard. I know it's harsh. But it's just the same kind of attitude and unwillingness to take risks and chances. Like quote unquote, a bit afraid of the moment and the situation. Ancelotti, by the way, kind of said the same afraid of the situation thing last night during the press conference. Not afraid isn't probably not the word he used, but that the situation got to the young players, and you could feel that it's even though they are doing all right and more than fine in practice, that the whole situation got to them a little bit last night. Especially, I have to assume that the first goal was not ideal for them in this kind of situation. So, again, I'll be more than willing to be patient with Tchouameni for sure. I'm just, the comparison with Illarramendi was just for the listeners and you to get a perspective into what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that he will be a failure like Illarramendi was, and I'm not saying that he will not be as good as Illarramendi, mainly because I think that he already is way better than Illarramendi ever was in his career. But again, it's just to describe a little bit better what I felt in terms of his attitude and his unwillingness to take chances and risks.
Yeah, what Ancelotti said was after the game was that I think he mentioned someone else too.
I think Camavinga, yeah.
Yeah, he must have been Camavinga because he said Tchouameni and maybe Camavinga that they weren't as good as they've been in training, something like that, right?
Yeah, correct.
Which I think also was a good reminder that coaches see things in training that we never see.
Sure.
And so whether a player gets benched in previous games or previous years and we all cry about it, or a player starts and we cry about it, there's a context out there that maybe that the coach sees something in training, whether it's hard work, whether it's merit, whether they play really well. But also, to be fair, and maybe Camavinga has less of a pass for this because he's already been in the team for a year. And so he has a little bit more adjustment. Although, look, Camavinga is still 19. He's literally still a teenager until November.
Yeah, he's 2 years younger than Tchouameni too.
But I also think, it is one of those weird, tricky games where it's the first game of the season, and you're playing against the Segunda team that just won Segunda, and the stadium is...
It's on fire, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, there's...
It
sure. Happens.
Conceding that goal must have been terrible to their confidence also.
Yeah, in that moment, yeah, for sure. And that had a bunch of dominoes. But I will say I'm impressed with Rudiger's ability to bounce back from that.
Same.
And I also thought Nacho recovered and played really well after that too.
Nacho played really great, yeah. At least on the second half, yeah, he was single-handedly taking care of Almeria as a striker. I forgot his name. I'm totally sorry, but Sadiq, he was.
Sadiq.
Yeah, he totally took care of him during the second half, mainly because that's the matchup and the challenge Sadiq wanted. He didn't want to face Rudiger. He'd rather face Nacho, and Nacho took care of it in brilliant fashion during the second half. So big kudos to them because they rebounded well in the second half, as mentioned. Yeah.
We were kind of joking on Slack, me and Matt and Om, that after the first half, Ancelotti's never going to rotate again. It's going to be like, oh, see, I rotated, see what happened?
Yeah, same.
I don't think that's going to happen, but do you see, because to remind everyone, last year, Ancelotti rotated a lot in the beginning of the season.
Right. Yeah.
Then he was like, all right, I got to figure out my 11, and then the 11 has to form familiarity with each other, and they're going to be... do you see that happening like by November, December, or do you see more of like a lot of ins and outs? Because he did say himself that he's going to rotate more.
Hopefully not. Hopefully this is just a game. Hopefully Ancelotti gives these players a chance to bounce back fairly soon in order to get this feeling and these thoughts away from them a little bit, because they must be frustrated too with their own performance. So hopefully their next chance to start comes fairly soon and not a month from now, where they must, they need to shake off those feelings. And again, hopefully this is not the same situation as last year, and Ancelotti gives these guys the minutes they still need fairly soon in order for them not to lose the confidence they probably have entering this game.
So here's an interesting thing. When you look at the upcoming schedule, it's a little bit different than it was this past week, because this past week we had Frankfurt on Wednesday and then Almeria on Sunday.
Right.
For the next two games, we have an entire week of rest in between.
Right.
And actually, between the Celta game and Espanyol game, there is more than a week. It's 8 days.
Right.
My guess, my take, whether it's hot or cold, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think versus Celta on Saturday and possibly against Espanyol on Sunday, the game after, Ancelotti is going to field what he believes is his strongest 11. Because what are you resting for at that point? You think so too?
Yeah, I think so too, especially against Celta. I don't think you can take Celta very lightly at their own stadium. At the Bernabeu, it's an entirely different story. But Celta at Balaídos are not a team to be taken lightly. I think that he needs to approach that game very seriously if he wants the 3 points. And I completely agree with you. I think that he will deploy probably the same lineup he used in the Super Cup final against Eintracht.
So you don't think Rudiger makes it?
I don't think so. I think he'll keep starting the same lineup, at least for now.
Okay, so that was my next question. I was going to say, would you take a guess at what the Gala 11 is, but you answered it. You think it's a Super Cup? Not in your opinion, just what Ancelotti sees.
Exactly. I think it still is. Although, and I think it's important to discuss this, I think that we got to see that Ancelotti also believes that, Mendy lacks a little bit of offensive production when Real Madrid are losing.
Yeah.
And for me, Alaba playing those minutes at the left back spot was quite possibly my biggest headline after the game, was that, okay, Alaba is still being considered a left back at least in certain situations. So, and this going forward, I think this will be crucial for Real Madrid season. I was not a fan of Mendy's game last night. I don't think he moved the needle at all when Real Madrid needed to score and were trailing. I actually thought that he kind of did Vinicius a bit of a disservice by again bringing an extra man to defend him in many times. Even though Vinicius obviously was one of Madrid's standouts in that game, but again, the fact that Ancelotti was not only that he realized this, but also that he was willing to play Alaba at that spot late in the game when Real Madrid needed one goal was huge to me, because I think this could be a turning point for Real Madrid's starting lineup, and to me it means that at least we will probably see at some point the defensive lineup that I think it will be the strongest overall. Maybe not from a defensive standpoint, but at least in terms of team building and offensive contribution, which is Carvajal, Rudiger, Militao, and Alaba. This is probably my biggest takeaway of the game.
So I agree with you on Mendy's performance, and I'm generally a fan of Mendy's game. I think he's so good at certain things, but I think in the past one of the things I would always push on is that even if he's not good offensively, if he can just do certain things, make certain runs, and actually spend time in the final third, that in itself would help Vinicius. But last night was really bad. Last night he wasn't the final third. Look at his heat map. He had a bunch of touches in the final third. He was exactly where you want a fullback to be to help Vinicius create space, but he couldn't. He didn't have the talent. You could see it. You could see him. He had a couple of moments where he could do something. He's in a position where maybe if he can just create space for himself to put a cross in, that he was a little bit clumsy with the ball at his feet. Again, oddly enough, completely different if he's being pressured in our box. He's doing roulettes and all the tricks. But when it's time for him to attack, he can't do that for some reason. And so last night was really bad. And I think you see a lot of critics for Vinicius in performances like that. Even though I don't think he was elite Vinicius, but he was important, and he...
Oh, yeah, he was huge.
Yeah, he was huge.
He was huge.
But I think a lot of the people who criticize Vinicius in moments like that where he can't do anything because there's no space, they fail to take into account the fact that he doesn't have any support from the fullback. He's by himself.
Yeah, against three defenders, because the fullback thought that the right move to do was to bring an extra coverage for Vinicius. So that was disappointing.
Exactly. So I've said this so many times, people are going to get sick of me of saying it. But could you imagine, Lucas, what Vinicius would look like if last night you had the 2017, 2016 version of Marcelo there? Just flicking the ball around defenders, linking up, tight passes in between corridors. Could you imagine what they would have done last night? It's totally different ball game now with Mendy. You can't do that.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it was huge to see that Alaba is considered as a left back option, even though we never got to see him in that spot through the preseason. I thought it was over, and I thought for some reason Alaba never wanted to play that spot ever again, or Ancelotti feels like he should never play Alaba that spot again. And when I saw Alaba warming up, I just said, okay, this has to mean that Alaba is going to replace Mendy in this context, in this situation, right? And turned out to be that case, and hopefully we get to see more of that, at least in certain contexts and against certain opposition, because I think it would be huge for Vinicius and for Real Madrid overall.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, El Dia Después? Lingering thoughts?
Maybe we should discuss a little bit the Asensio situation.
Yes, let's do it.
I think it was important for everyone to see that Asensio was not being relied upon, even in this context when Real Madrid needed a goal. Hazard was ahead of him in the rotation in this context. Hazard did okay, more than okay, maybe okay. Even.
Yeah, he did good.
I could be gentle and give him more than okay for grade for this game. I thought he was solid. I thought he was positive. So I don't know if maybe Ancelotti and the club are trying to make a point to Asensio and say this is the role you're going to have for the rest of the season, in order for him to panic a little bit and accept, or at least bring one offer before the transfer deadline. I don't know if this is the case, and even if he stays, the situation could change, because I think Asensio could still be useful if he stays. But it was telling that, Ancelotti even thought of Ceballos ahead of both Ceballos and Hazard ahead of Asensio last night. So I think it was an important point from the club and from Ancelotti to Asensio in this context. Like, this is what your role looks like at the moment, and you're going to need a lot of patience in order to overcome this, and you better leave. So I don't know what Asensio's mindset will be at this point.
Clear message sent.
Yep.
He has barely played at all, apart from preseason. Like, even if you go back into like the end of last season as well, not featured. Mm-hmm. So my question is essentially, do we just go into, if he gets sold by August 31st, do we just go into next season with one less player?
Ultimately, I think this is what Real Madrid are, at least what Real Madrid want to do. So my answer would be yes. I don't know if the answer would be yes if I were in charge. I have to take a look at the market and obviously see what the market is offering for that particular role, that particular spot. But right now, I think so. Yes, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I think this is Real Madrid's mindset. If they with regards to the Asensio situation, even if he leaves, Real Madrid feel like they don't need a replacement for him, considering how the roster is built at the moment. And by the way, if Hazard is at this level, I might agree with them. I know it's obviously the same as it's too easy to panic and push the panic button on both Tchouameni and Camavinga. It's too soon to get comfortable with the idea of Hazard being able to contribute and make an impact this season. Okay, it's been 60 minutes for Tchouameni and Camavinga. Let's not panic. And on the other hand, it was only like 20 or 30 minutes from Hazard. Let's not get carried away too soon. Let's give him the chance to show a little bit more before we can actually be so happy about his performance. I think so. But again, if this is the level we're going to see from Hazard, I think that my answer would also be yes.
So it's August 15th. You got 15 more days. I agree with you on the Hazard point. By the way, it's too soon. It's going to be a roller coaster, I think, with him. Is the Sergio Arribas dream dead? Does the club at all think of him as an option? He is not featured at all. He's still with Castilla, right?
Yeah.
I haven't missed any news.
Yeah. Sure. He's with Castilla, and I think so. I think that it will take, a few injuries. Yeah. Injuries, and also obviously he might get a chance during the first game or first two games of the Copa del Rey. In that situation, he might get a chance to start. And
I don't even think he'll play that one. Copa del Rey at this point, it's like one or two games where you can maybe put out a B team, and after that it's like the quarterfinals and all that starts right away, and then you're eight. And by the way, I just think, like, given our Copa del Rey track record, I think Ancelotti's bench will play. Yeah, I mean, he'll play like good players, and even our bench need minutes. So
yeah, but on the other hand, I don't know if Rodrigo is injured like he was last night. Maybe Hazard would play on the left, and if Asensio leaves, Arribas, I have to assume Arribas will be the one playing on the right in a potential first Copa del Rey match. Him or Federico, exactly. So, but if you're asking me if Arribas is going to make an impact or this season, or if he's being considered for a regular spot on the bench or on the rotation, my answer would be no. I think that he will play like 99.9% of his minutes for Castilla this season. And the only context I've seen playing for Real Madrid this season is if big injuries happen to multiple players, two or three maybe, or B, again, Copa del Rey. First few fun matches of the Copa del Rey, if he has played great for Castilla, maybe Ancelotti will give him a chance to play those. So, but right now, he should not be expected to have a roster in the rotation or a spot in the rotation.
Makes sense. Let's see where it goes. We still got 15 days left, and we'll see. I personally think Asensio will look at the situation and try to find a better situation for himself. Possibly. If he wants to play in the World Cup, and may push further, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Look, any concluding thoughts?
No, the same goes probably with Ceballos, but on the opposite side, right? Ceballos seems to have embraced his new role. Ancelotti seems to be very happy about what he sees from Ceballos in training sessions, because he keeps finding him opportunities here and there. Obviously, playing 10 minutes late in regulation is not what Ceballos expects, but on the other hand, I think Ceballos can be pretty happy with the fact that he's going to have a few chances to play here and there. So Ceballos has been a very surprising case, considering the role he had last season, even though he played some minutes during the end of the season. But we all expected him to leave, but it seems that he's going to stay, and more importantly, it seems that he has embraced his role and that he's happy about the whole situation. So I think he can make an impact.
Who did you have as you had Carvajal as your unsung hero of the season in the roundtable?
Yeah,
I had Ceballos.
Yeah, I picked my hot take. My hot take was about Ceballos, though.
Yeah.
My hot take was that Ceballos was going to be relevant and make an impact this season. Yeah.
I think we're saying the same thing. I rationalized it to Matt last night too. I think it's because, one, he's good, and two, during that whole Champions League run last season, no one mentioned him, but he was actually in a micro detail bit important. He played well off the bench in the Champions League. And three, he's the type of player I think you can plug into any situation off the bench. I think you need a goal, you need some vision in the final third, you need someone to hustle and work hard, you need to control the game and keep a lead. He can do all three of those. So I think he can help in any situation.
And a harder take even would be him getting an extension this season.
Wow.
That's pretty hot. Yeah, I know. that's
you know what?
Bold.
That's actually reasonable to me and feasible and conceivable, because I think it's possible we will be without one of Modric or Kris next season.
Right.
And the club is looking at players like Fabian and Jude Bellingham. And if they can't get one or two of those guys, maybe they'll turn to Ceballos if he has a great season.
Exactly. If Ceballos keeps performing at a high level, one, he's raising his value, so Real Madrid don't want him to lose him as a free agent next summer. And two, again, the Modric and Kroos situation makes Ceballos an interesting asset. I don't think you can find a player like Ceballos for less than 20 or 30, even 30 million in the market right now. So why would you sell him, or why would you let him go for free? I think Real Madrid should get to work on that extension, even though it's not easy, obviously, because Ceballos is not going to be to accept this extension if minutes don't come his way fairly soon, and more important minutes, I mean. But again, Ceballos is a quality player, and one that I think Real Madrid should take a look at keeping if he keeps performing at this level, and if he keeps embracing the role he has at the moment.
Lucas, this was fun. I'm loving this new Monday edition that we have going on. Look forward to seeing you Monday. But we're actually going to talk Thursday over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid to answer Real Madrid questions and go through a mailbag. So look forward to that. Thanks for joining the show as always. Appreciate it.
No
Have
problem.
a great Monday.
You too, man.
All right, man.
You
Take
too.
care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hello all. Welcome back to another edition of Castilla Corner. I am once again joined by my good friend Ruben. How are you, Ruben?
Hello. All good here.
We're bringing you some post-game action. Real Madrid Castilla won, Atletico Baleares won. It was a pre-season game. Not a very entertaining pre-season game either. We were just talking about it off air. It was quite a hard watch.
It was, let's say, a good defensive performance from Baleares.
It was a good run out for the boys.
Yeah. But still some talking points, I think.
Yeah, for sure. The goal scorer, for instance, is one of the new kids on the block, Noah Lopez.
Mm.
Kind of handed his first goal because I don't really know what it's like a classic defender mistake where you try to find the goalkeeper and it ends up running short.
What's a shame is that Lucas Canizares, our goalkeeper for today, he didn't get the assist because it was going to the defender first. But it was kind of a Canizares had been doing a lot of good things on the ball today, and he hit a very good long ball towards Noah Lopez, who had just come on, I think. And the defender, do you think he tried to pass to the goalkeeper or something?
I think it's one of those when you look behind them, so look behind before they pass the ball to make sure there's no one being chased.
Yeah,
chasing up after them. Well, I think it was a case of that they didn't look behind them, didn't know that Noah Lopez was breathing down their necks. And
do you think how much do you think scoring a goal in preseason? How much does it matter for a new striker coming into the club? Does it matter at all?
I don't know. Usually, like Sam has always said the same thing, that there is always that one player that impressed in preseason and then goes on and has a great year with Castilla. So I think, maybe not so much for the senior teams, but at youth level, I think it does have an impact on your form going forward.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting now with Noah Lopez that, do you know, because Juan Latasa wasn't even playing today. I'm not sure if he even was on the bench.
Yeah.
And,
well, the last I heard of him, he was linked with Getafe.
Yeah, that's the thing I think we mentioned shortly in the last episode that he, of course, went on tour with the first team and then didn't play a single minute, did he? and then came back to Castilla, and he actually came on in one of the preseason games, played 10 minutes or something, and then we haven't seen him. So today, Alvaro Rodriguez started again, and then Noah Lopez came on. So do you think this means that Latasa is clearly on his way out then?
It doesn't. There's a report up on the site from last week that says that he's closing in on a move. But it also says the Getafe are interested in Sergio Arribas, and I think Arribas played today, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if he was carrying a knock, it would be the sort of thing you wouldn't hear about, because it's just we're not really well informed on injuries with Castilla when they happen.
I know, but I was thinking the same, could be an injury, but I was trying to look it up, and it's true that we don't have the best sources, but I would think that it would have been mentioned maybe, but at the same time, if Latasa was dropped, that would have been even bigger news, so that should have also been mentioned if it was the case.
Yeah, for sure. If it's not injury related, then it's certainly a sign that he might be heading towards the door. Which is good, because I don't think another year here will do him any favors.
Well, it's not going to do him any favors, but it will do Castilla some favors.
Well, we don't. Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
I think maybe of all the established players, it could be that Latasa, now given the signings, is one of the least necessary to keep, because, as I mentioned, Alvaro Rodriguez has been impressing. Noah Lopez has been signed from Deportivo. And also, we need to talk a little bit about this rumor of Real Madrid signing Iker Bravo.
Yeah.
And I knew you haven't seen that much of him, neither have I. But from what I've read, and I'm not sure if you have the same impression, he seems like actually one of the best talents in Spain.
Yeah, he's massive. He made I kind of briefly looked up his profile just to see what he was, what the deal is, and he made his debut with Bayer Leverkusen recently as well, which is kind of crazy. from what I've heard, I've seen reports on Twitter saying that he's close to a move to here. That he's closer to a move to here, in comparison to other clubs that are linked with him.
So what I heard is that we were battling with Atletico to get him, and that Atletico, they were also very keen on signing him. And it seems like there has been long negotiations with Leverkusen about him because Leverkusen obviously, well, we talk about Real Madrid wanting him, Atletico wanting him, but of course Leverkusen also want him. It seems like he currently has some kind of an Odegaard deal with Leverkusen, that he's supposed to train with the first team and then play with their second team. And I think even the CEO of Leverkusen went out and said, okay, obviously he prefers to be, instead of training with our first team, he wants to train with the second team of another club and also play with them. So it seems it's actually official, the interest now. So seems like it's just a matter of time before we actually sign him.
Yeah, I think it's they're waiting on the right offer. Which, I mean, fair enough, because I think especially in the Bundesliga as well, they're more inclined. German clubs over there that aren't Bayern Munich are more inclined to let a talented player go for the right price than try and battle with them to make them stay and let them leave on a free transfer in 2 or 3 years' time. So yeah, I can understand that.
So if we're just supposed to say a few things about how his style is, he's an attacking player, a striker, and from what I've seen, he seems like a very quick, technical player. Fabrica Madrid says he's similar to Robert Lewandowski. Well, I'm not so sure about that one, but definitely a very promising player. And I also saw a site lining up the best 11 Spanish talents, where, for example, Gavi and some others were included, and he was there. Iker Bravo was in that team, and a lot of hype around him. And also, I think it's a deal where we have an option to buy. I think it's supposed to be a loan for some reason. What do you think that is?
Not sure. I don't. It's very strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is if maybe it's a case of they could ask for more money on the basis that he might perform well on a loan. I don't know.
Yeah, but it seems like they also wanted to include a buy option. So it doesn't make sense at all to me, because
I didn't think we were short on money either.
No, exactly.
To justify a loan and then buy.
I just don't see, for Real Madrid, I think it's a good deal, because if he, after 1 or 2 years at loan, doesn't work out, well, okay, we just don't sign him. But for Leverkusen, I don't see the upside of. Well, I think they will get a decent fee by loaning him out, of course. But I think 6 million was the option to buy, and Leverkusen initially wanted like 10 or 12. So Real Madrid been negotiating well here. But so what this could mean is that Latasa goes, and Real Madrid could actually get a lot of money for him. And seems like they are asking close to 10 million. Do you think that's realistic for Latasa?
No. 10 million is a massive amount of money for Latasa.
What is realistic for Latasa?
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He has no offense, but he doesn't have any top level experience. I think Real Madrid are asking for 10 million because they know Getafe have that sort of money, rather than that they think they'll get it.
I mean, Mario did have just 1 year left on his contract, but he has been scoring goals at the highest level for years, and for Roma, and Latasa has barely played at the highest level. So, but I mean, it's it's good that Real Madrid are trying, but I don't think they will get it.
I suppose they're obviously not too pushed if they don't offload him this year. I think if they were keen to get him going elsewhere, they would ask for less money. They're also asking for the 50% player rights as well. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're really trying to screw Getafe over.
Poor Getafe. Another signing who played today, Vinicius Ceballos. What do you think about him? He played the whole game, I think.
I can't say I noticed too much.
No, same here.
In terms of defenders, Rafael Obrador had a good game.
Yeah.
Especially towards the end when he was beginning to find space out wide.
Yeah, our new left back.
For sure. Who else? I thought Alvaro was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't score, but I thought he did what Raul would like from his centre forward. Certainly made himself a nuisance on a handful of occasions.
He does bring. He's the kind of striker who does bring something to the team. Not even when he doesn't score, which is always good.
Yeah, it's hard to say much more about it because it was just not a very entertaining game.
I know, but we can mention the goal we conceded as well, where Canizares made a very bad mistake.
I missed it. I actually didn't see it.
Yeah, it was like a free kick almost near the corner kick flag, and it wasn't a hard shot. I'm not even sure if it was a shot, and he just he missed it, and it was just a classic goalkeeper.
Fluffed his lines.
Yeah, so I mean, he has been impressing during the preseason, and the last game he was very good, and he was praised a lot afterwards.
He played well apart from the mistake, like he was all right for us outside of that. And obviously he had that near assist.
And he is very brave when it comes to the passing. It seems like Raul wants him to take risks playing out from the back, and he was passing. He was taking kind of dangerous options, but it normally went well. So it seems like Raul wants us to play out no matter
level,
what.
And he was one of the better goalkeepers I've seen play in our youth system.
Yeah, this is one thing you cannot say that our academy doesn't produce. We do produce good goalkeepers.
Yeah, for sure. We just don't really prioritize their development that well.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Yeah. One thing that I noticed is that, and this is a classic preseason thing, that Raul tried two variations of Peter and Arribas. So for the most part, Arribas played to the right and Peter played on the left. And then he changed it up and Arribas played centrally with Peter on the right. So I don't think that worked particularly well. I just think Arribas is clearly best when he gets to play centrally. And also I got some horrible flashbacks to Peter playing left wing back.
So did I. It's not fun.
I hope that it's not permanent, this.
It's I don't know. It seems to be a thing when you become Castilla manager. You have to start doing weird things to attacking players. All because Solari got Luis Caseta to play winger or left back, one or the other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think ever since that happened,
also,
people
right?
think it'll work. It's a big brain move.
But you remember Fran Garcia playing left wing for Raul as well? I think he did for just a few games.
Yeah, one or two games in a preseason, I do remember. Yeah.
But
he gave up on it pretty quick. In fairness to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He hasn't given up on Peter playing wing back, which I mean, I suppose I can understand it because Peter hasn't been a terrible wing back, but it's just so blatantly obvious that it's a waste of his talents as a player. He's such a good attacker. Why put him in defense? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know, and especially when it's on the other side of what he usually is best at.
Yeah, but I can't even remember who we had instead out in that wing last year.
Well,
it was Aranda and Arribas at times, but yeah, I probably would agree. Arribas is I don't like it. I suppose in certain systems I've seen Arribas play well out wide. He likes to drift out wide as well. Yeah. I remember we played a 4-4-2 once, and Arribas was wide, and he had a great game. But yeah, I think, and especially in his current form and confidence, playing him centrally is pretty key.
I think Arribas plays well wherever you put him, but yeah, I see a lot of people upset that he's staying. I'm pretty excited, but seems like he could get some competition for this central attacking midfield spot with possibly, shockingly, Ranier could be staying at Castilla. What do you think about this?
I'm excited.
You are?
Yeah, we didn't see enough of him when he was here. He had played like 6 games.
He was very good for Castilla.
And he was really good, yeah. Mm-hmm. He was the best of the 3 Brazilians that have played for Castilla so far. I think that much we were agreed upon.
You mean of Vinicius and Rodrigo?
Yeah, I think Ranier. Well, I mean, I suppose
Vinicius was pretty good.
I would say, yeah. I suppose in more terms of fit than actual form.
Yeah.
I thought like Ranier's play style suited the 3rd division a bit better than Vinicius and Rodrigo's did.
And remember, he was just 18 when he started playing at that level.
I don't really expect him to just come back and start playing like that again. But I don't know. I remember I wrote something in January about wanting him to come back and play for Castilla.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty on board with this idea. I think it's a good idea.
Why do you think it's a good idea?
Sorry?
Why do you think it's a good idea?
Why? Well, I mean, he had a disastrous loan at Borussia Dortmund for 2 years. I think at this point, screw any sort of plan to try and get him a club. Just play him somewhere. Get him game time. He needs game time. I don't think it matters where he gets it.
I mean, obviously the best option would be to get into a decent top division club and get regular playing time there. But
no one's
realistic?
Biting. Yeah, no one's biting, and you can't blame them. But I've not seen anything in the last 3 years.
And you have to ask why didn't Dortmund play him? I mean, we as Real Madrid fans could be very subjective and say that just some idiotic stuff from Dortmund, but there must be a reason for why he didn't play.
Yeah, and I remember the Dortmund manager at the time. I think they've rotated managers since. Didn't have much nice things to say about him. It's probably one for the Lone Tracker boys to answer.
But so because is it because of his training, attitude? Is it when he's performing in the games with the small amount of minutes he gets? What is it? We can't really be sure, but I think getting a few months at Castilla, it doesn't even have to be the whole season. It could be playing until January, and I think there will be a lot of more clubs interested. And isn't he just 20 years old still? So
2021. He was pretty young when we bought him.
So he's just 20 years old. He will be 21 in January. So I mean, it's a shame that he has missed a couple of years of development. But I still think he can become a very good player. Let's hope that it was just poor judgment from Dortmund not playing him, and that they knew that he was just on loan, and that we signed a deal. A 2-year deal, which was not possible to terminate, and that Dortmund just wanted to keep him as a backup.
Well, he's not the first loan deal to go awry. They can be very hit and miss. And you're right. He's young enough to bring it back, and maybe giving him a place. I think giving him a spot at a division where we know he showed signs of potential would do his confidence the world of good. Yeah, I think someone like him who's lost 2 years, the most important thing is to get confidence and form back, and even if that's in a division where he's probably too good to play in.
Yeah, I agree. And also, we need to mention that are we 100% sure that this is possible? Because I guess anything is possible if we don't find him a club. Then we will have to play at Castilla because he cannot be registered, as everyone knows. But I haven't seen pictures of him training with Castilla. I just heard some reports that he was training in Raúl had him there. I don't know for how long, but I mean, that needs to be mentioned that we're not 100% sure whether he's actually close to Castilla or what
there's
happens.
There's another like 2-3 preseason games to play, so I suppose if he doesn't make an appearance in one of those, then you do have to begin to question if it's a actuality.
Yeah.
But I suppose even then, I mean, is it like a Latasa situation where if the Getafe deal falls through, he just jumps back on the bandwagon, so to speak?
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is I think Vinicius is up for Spanish citizenship this year as well. So,
so you think that so if he stays, he maybe not from the start, but eventually he will be eligible for the first team.
Yeah, because there'll be an open non-EU spot.
That is not actually a bad thought. I haven't even thought about that because we've waited so long for Vinicius to get this passport thing right. I think he has been, because to get this Spanish passport, I made some research on this actually. You need to do a lot of stuff. For example, take some tests for your knowledge on Spain and also to test your language skills. And Vinicius has done all of this and also lived there for 2 years or more, for a long time. It's just some bureaucracy stuff which is stopping this from happening, but it could, as you say, it could happen during the next months.
Yeah, Marca reported in April that he was in the final stages.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah, but I did see those reports 2 years ago too. So.
Yeah, it's important because the likes of like Kubo would be a player I'd worry about getting. I think it takes like 10 years for Japanese citizens to get a passport in Spain.
Exactly, and I also think it has to be 10 years without leaving the country, and. Also, I think you have to do it before you're 22, so they are very strict.
Yeah, so it's important to have as many non-EU spots as we can in the squad, especially with the new loan rules as well. But I mean, these are problems for another day. Obviously, we don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, in Norway there has been a giant issue with getting passports to everyone. Is there the same kind of issue in Ireland?
There was after Brexit because a lot of British people started applying for Irish passports.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Especially with the UK because of our history. It's the laws for getting an Irish passport for English citizens is relatively straightforward. You just need some sort of Irish relative.
Okay.
And you can apply for it. So yeah, that was there was a big demand of Irish passports in the UK after Brexit.
Well, is there still a demand, or has it the popularity?
I had to get a new one recently, and it came in within a week of applying for it. So I think it's fine now.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, because I'm not sure.
It's not easy to get citizenship here either. So.
Yeah, because I'm not sure how much this has in common. This problem has in common with this passport situation with Vinicius and Rodrigo and everyone. But yeah, I actually do hope, for selfish reasons, to see Ranier at Castilla next season. But it would mean that we would. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to line up the team. Then maybe we would have to play Arribas on the wing, or maybe Ranier. Or we also signed Alvaro Leiva, very promising winger. Where does everyone play? I mean, if this is Real Madrid's dream of finally getting Castilla promoted, that could be a good strategy.
It's an intense season. It's a long season as well, so I don't think it's a bad problem to have. When you factor in the playoffs as well, if that's where we're aiming for this year, and I think we should be with some of the players we still have.
Yeah, for sure. We need to mention also that Pablo Ramon did have a decent game up until, I'm not sure what minute, 70th minute or something.
Yeah.
And I did see what happened was that I personally think the referee went too much go. He accepted too many rough fouls, and at one time I think Castilla wanted a free kick. They were running back, and I saw Ramon. Shouting at the referee about something when he was running back, and then the referee didn't do anything. But when the ball went out of play, he just stopped, went over to Pablo Ramon, gave him a red card. So Ramon was actually sent off in a friendly for,
It was one of those classic, like, third division referee performances where you're not really sure what's a foul and what's not.
Yeah.
Some bizarre calls were made across the pitch. But
he must have said something bad, though.
And it's disappointing that Ramon lost his cool.
He must have said something very bad, though, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, but I mean, I don't think anyone in that squad is unaware with what we deal with referees at this division. They aren't. I mean, referees in Spain are on the record not spectacular. We know this, but especially in the third division, they're quite poor.
Yeah.
And you just expect Ramon to be a bit smarter than that.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary, but Castilla were playing well.
He does last year. He had a lot of injuries. I think he struggled for form as well. Like, I can't speak too much because I didn't see that much, but it's kind of, when you're playing well, being sent off with his track record at Castilla so far is not what he's needing.
He also, he's not even guaranteed to play ahead of Carrillo, I think. I think Carrillo has a good shot at playing next to
That is true. Raul definitely preferred him last year over Ramon. And rightfully so. Carrillo was very good last year.
Yeah, so Ramon needs to step it up, to be honest. But
you got Vinicius Ceballos as well coming into the four. That makes it all a bit more difficult. And Obrador as well. There's a lot of competition for those spots.
There is. Yeah, and also I'm looking at the squad, RealMadrid.com. Seems to be a lot of work to do still. For example, Marvin, Blanco. They're not even playing. So, but why what's happening this summer? Why is it so hard to find these players new clubs? We could also even mention Isco. Well, he finally went to Sevilla, but I just think on a 2-year deal. Marcelo hasn't found a club. What's going on this season? Why is it so difficult for our players to find new clubs?
No idea. There was I suppose we didn't have the most impressive of seasons last year. I don't know how many clubs are sending scouts to Castilla games, to be honest.
Well, but usually we do, when they do well, they do get quickly an opportunity at a high level.
Yeah. I guess it just wasn't the form from the team was never there to justify a proper scouting mission. But I don't know. I suppose, especially Marvin and Blanco, they have first division experience. So you would think that would be enticing for a certain number of teams. I don't know, but I guess it's not really that much of a surprise because even when we secure loan deals, they're like, if we make 5 loan deals, 4 of them are a disaster.
Yeah, I know. So I just wanna stress how important I think it is to get Castilla promoted. It's not even fun anymore. I'm so tired of these loan deals and Castilla prospects. Yeah, we've wasted so many players, and it's just not only our fault. It's also other clubs not maybe being that honest with their plans for our players. So yeah, I just want us to get them promoted, stay in the second highest division, and maybe get Real Madrid C promoted as well. We can only hope.
That would be the dream. Whether it'll happen is another thing altogether.
Yeah.
I definitely think we've got a decent shot of achieving something this year. I don't think our chances are any worse than they were last year. We just have to play better.
You sometimes do a lot of research on the divisions and arrivals and stuff. Do you know anything about how it's going to be this season?
I've seen the league table, which is, I think it's more or less the same without the promoted sides from last year. I think the idea at this point is to keep it, instead of having groups mixed up all the time, to keep the teams all together.
Okay.
As best they can.
Because
make it a bit more tidy and organized than it was before.
Because there are 2 groups now, right?
Yeah, it's all the same setup. It's just different teams depending on who got promoted and relegated last year.
Yeah, okay. And there will be no mix between the groups between the seasons either, no?
No. They'll probably avoid that.
Yeah, maybe that's better. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. I think it's certainly for us. It's for Castilla, anyways. It's more challenging than the old setup. I think because obviously the boat league tables are kind of organized. You have Madrid playing teams on the east side of the country by the looks of it, and then the other side is the west.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've gotten drawn in with a really rough bunch of guys. You've got like Cordoba's in our group, Deportivo La Coruña's in our group. San Sebastian, I'm sick of those guys. Yeah, there's some really good teams in this. Celta Vigo B are pretty decent as well, if I recall.
You've been sick of San Sebastian for 3 years, I think.
Yeah, they're my least favorite team. I love the town, the city of San Sebastian. I was there in June. It was great, but the San Sebastian de los Reyes I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't think people know about what your trip was. You went to a lot of countries.
Yeah, I went to 11 countries.
11 countries, yeah.
Across just over 2 months.
It's fun. Without much football, though, because of the summer.
Yeah, I went to some stadiums. I went to Benfica and Porto Stadium. I saw Real Sociedad Stadium.
Which stadium was the most impressive out of the ones you saw?
Porto stands out for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, Porto was, especially their museum. They show all the trophies that any of their sports teams won, and it's like a cabinet that's 3 floors big. It's huge.
Okay, yeah.
But it's cool, yeah, very cool. The Portuguese football in general seems like an interesting thing to follow if I had more time.
I haven't been to that many stadiums myself when I'm thinking about it. I'm just always going back to Madrid, and I was at Hamburg's stadium once, and that was right after when we signed Rafael van der Vaart. And also I saw Ruud van Nistelrooy play in that game, but and also I was actually at the Champions League final. I don't know if everyone knows about this, so that's a decent one.
This year's one.
Yeah, and I've also been to AC Milan's stadium. So I mean, yeah. I think I should visit more stadiums. Not sure if I should visit more stadiums of Castilla's opponents, though. I'm not sure if that's worth it.
No, I wouldn't recommend them.
Sometimes when I'm going to Madrid, I've been looking at when Castilla are playing away games, is it worth going to, for example, Las Rosas? They are just a little bit outside Madrid, but no, I don't think, I'm not sure if it's worth the hassle.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, public transport to a point is great, but it's I went to a under-19s game in April, and it was like a car park and an artificial pitch. And it takes like 30, 40 minutes altogether to get from where I was staying to that. It's so minimal. Like, I asked for a press pass that I didn't even need. No one ever asked. I just sat down and watched. It was great, actually. The Real Madrid squad were all gathering outside. All these players that were hyping up were just like standing outside the main road with their parents dropping them off. It was really weird.
Okay. That's one of the cool things about watching Castilla at Alfredo Di Stefano, that after the game, sometimes the players just come out, they hang out outside the stadium, and they stop with their cars and they talk to their friends. And
there's always like all the socios that are there out, like before and after the game, you always see them eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
Which is clever. Like, if I had one word of advice for people, make sure you go to the Stefano on a full stomach and well hydrated, because there is nothing there. Nothing there.
no food, no drink.
Yeah,
no.
and they won't let you bring in any food either. That's why they're always eating it before the games. So you gotta stock up, even if you bring something with you and eat it before you go in, because my goodness, I've made that mistake once.
I was when was it? A few months ago. I was at Leganés. They're also a Madrid team, and their stadium, they have like this famous bocadillo, and I'm sorry to say it was awful. So if that's the option to have that Alfredo Di Stefano, I think I would rather have nothing, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've been to Rayo Vallecano. I saw their game against Valencia last year. It was a good stadium. It's actually it's a crappy stadium, but man, it's an experience.
It's a very cool stadium because of it's so close to apartments and buildings, so people are watching the game from the buildings. That's very
the atmosphere in there was unlike anything I've experienced, and it's very cheap as well. I think that game against Valencia cost me €10.
Okay, yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, a lot of cool stadiums in Spain, but maybe we need to do an effort to visit.
Do a travel pod.
I'm not sure if a Segunda B travel pod would get a lot of listeners.
No. Just combine. We get Sam on and combine all the stadiums we've been to and give advice.
Maybe we get a couple of listeners. Maybe.
Absolutely.
I think that's it. No.
I can't think of anything else. It seems like a good place to wrap it up. We always end it on a strange note where we talk about something completely unrelated. I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast listen to the start and listen to the end, and then they kind of just peruse during the middle bits.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy, to be fair.
I think so. That's where the best part is.
Anyways, so we will be back at some stage next week, no doubt. We're two in a row now. We've got to keep it going. More pre-season friendlies. The new season kicks off towards the end of August. We're playing Linares, is what I was seeing.
They're starting late. Yeah, they're starting
very
so
late. Yeah, I thought today was the start of the new season because I was like, Atletico Baleares at home. Yeah, that sounds like a classic.
And also they're playing so many. Yeah, they're also playing so many friendlies. I don't get it, but yeah.
It's
August 27th is the first game at home against Linense. Yes.
Yeah. So we have to suffer through a couple more preseason friendlies before then. Hopefully they'll be a bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't count on it, but hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay then. Until then, thank you for listening. Thanks to Ruben for joining me. We're gonna try. We are trying to get Sam on, but he disappears as soon as you ask.
Yeah, well, that's next time.
Yeah, for sure. Next time. We'll have our fingers crossed. Until then, thank you, and Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
All right, before we wrap it up and send you along on your way, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid, but we wanted to give a specific shout out to our $10 plus patrons, because if you pledge $10 or more, you get a specific shout out on the podcast, in addition to getting guaranteed responses to your questions. So shout out to Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Wei Pering, Wamik Jamal, Umar Mahadi, Tyler Simon, Tobias Arroyo Botcher, Tarek Goktas, Talib Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Shivam Tiwari, Sherry Sorio, Sheikh Atiri, Shamil Shabaz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samir Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafari, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Zapatero Zubiare, Nicholas Moller, Nick Ribeiro, Nelson Mazariego, Muxi Thengal, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jeff Thurston, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, Faisal Hamdan, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Christian Toft, Krishna Costa, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Armand Gashi, Armando L, Antons Rudenko, Anirudh Singh, Alexis Saniceros, Al, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Maghrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for your support. We love you all. And Hala Mari.